las zonas más turísticas. Ahorita están pasando unos turistas detrás de nosotros y están tomando fotos, claro, de esta fuerte presencia policial en este momento. Entonces, pues seguimos al pendiente. Acabo de hablar con uno de los detectives de la policía de Nueva York y me dice que en cuanto sepa algo, nos lo va a decir por supuesto, pero también nos dirán dónde se llevará a cabo esta conferencia de prensa, donde todos estamos esperando para saber qué fue lo que ocurrió y cuál era el objetivo de estos paquetes y por qué todos al mismo momento, y si era la misma persona. Como puedes ver, Paulina, pues muchas dudas que todavía tenemos los medios de comunicación, por supuesto, para informarle a nuestro auditorio. Ahí viene, ¿me escuchan? ¿Me escuchan? ¿Me escuchan? ¿Me escuchan? Está entrando el bomb squad ahorita.
Yeah. Yeah, 12:45.
El bomb squad está tratando de entrar.
I'm cool, we're good. I kind of Jujero, I'm all set over there.
Ahorita te aviso si entra por
Alright, see ya.
I'm glad you and I both know how busy this area is and just how many shops just in the town center alone. So imagine the people who are on and something see it. So we just got to what's going on. You step out of the way, you can show this thing. You see it. That's aggressive.
All right, sure.
They don't have. It's right here. Yeah, it's right here. It was working fine. He said, well, the photographer said it's coming. Did you hear that? The photographer says it's coming. Okay, we're
estaban llamando Raúl Gutiérrez. Así es, Paulina. En estos momentos, hace menos de un minuto, acaba de llegar otro camión del equipo antibombas. Este camión no es como el otro, donde se detonan los explosivos o los posibles explosivos. Este camión viene con toda una infraestructura. Nueva York es una de las policías, precisamente por lo que ha ocurrido en nuestra historia, los ataques terroristas del 9/11, otras explosiones subsecuentes. La policía de Nueva York está fuertemente equipada para trabajar y poder tratar este tipo de situaciones. Y me voy a hacer a un lado, ustedes pueden ver ahí al fondo cómo es que está llegando este camión al que me refería, que es del equipo antibombas. En estos momentos se están haciendo a un lado las policías que ya se encontraban aquí. Al frente del camión está el secretario de prensa de la policía de Nueva York, Carlos Rodríguez, que él es el que nos ha dicho que se dará una conferencia de prensa más adelante, una vez que por supuesto las autoridades sepan ellos mismos qué fue lo que está ocurriendo hasta el momento. Como mencionaba José, pues se sabe que estaba dirigido a un colega de CNN que pertenecía al equipo del expresidente Barack Obama. Entonces, pues las autoridades están funcionando para analizar este paquete, el camión donde se detona estos explosivos o donde se transportan estos explosivos no ha salido, continúa dentro de las instalaciones de CNN. Muy probablemente en este estacionamiento, por supuesto, transportar este tipo de paquetes no es nada fácil, porque últimamente las autoridades están solo de tema. Entonces, pues se tiene que trabajar con muchísimo cuidado y también transportarse todavía con mayor cuidado. Entonces, llegó un nuevo equipo del escuadrón antibombas. Vemos también que todos los equipos de K9, estos policías con sus caminos, con sus perros, están transfiriendo todos los vehículos a la redonda, porque ustedes pueden ver también a la izquierda, hay muchísimos locales donde pues hay comedores, también hay hoteles, hay departamentos, porque se están poniendo a todas las personas allí, parece ser que ya fueron evacuadas. También podemos ver cómo hay farmacias, es decir, hay una fuerte movilización de personas influencers. Ahí al fondo son parte de la policía, parte de la parte de los detectives del departamento de policías, y no sé si ustedes me pueden escuchar, pero hoy seguimos escuchando varias sirenas, porque cabe recalcar, ya lo hemos visto con anterioridad, pero estamos en un momento y en un lugar donde donde hay muchísimos turistas en Nueva York, justo antes de Thanksgiving y hacia entrada la Navidad, hay muchísimos turistas. En las oficinas de Time Warner están aledañas a un mall, entonces este mall, este centro comercial tiene tiendas y también tiene un supermercado que es uno de los más ocupados y de los más visitados en Nueva York. Estamos a contraesquina del famoso Central Park. Ahí ustedes pueden ver la oficina de CNN de Time Warner y las oficinas ocupan la mayor parte de todo lo que ustedes pueden ver allá. Entonces es una coordinación entre los, por supuesto, oficiales, pero también entre el equipo de seguridad de CNN. Y pues estaremos muy pendientes, Paulina, de qué es lo que ocurre aquí. Nosotros, por supuesto, a través de estar en vivo contigo y también, por supuesto, a través de estar en las redes sociales, estaremos informando todo lo que está ocurriendo, Paulina. Bueno, muy curiosamente, es muy buena pregunta, Paulina. Después del 9/11, la manera en que los helicópteros se transportan dentro de la ciudad es muy limitado. Normalmente tú puedes ver a los helicópteros en los ríos que abrazan la zona de Manhattan, que abrazan la isla de Manhattan. Entonces está el Hudson River y también está el East River. Estos ríos normalmente es por donde viajan estos helicópteros, y los helicópteros privados, o ya sea de la policía, no entran a zona de Manhattan, por supuesto, después de lo que vimos después del 9/11, pero en momentos o situaciones similares, bueno, prohíben todo tipo de viaje por aire, pero solo las autoridades y la policía de Nueva York puede entrar a sobrevolar Manhattan. Yo lamentablemente nada más puedo estar y estoy escuchando en esta zona. Muy probablemente hayan pedido que pues ningún helicóptero esté sobrevolando el área y son muy estrictos, así que por supuesto estaremos muy al pendiente. Pero aquí en la zona yo sin duda he visto más de 4 helicópteros sobrevolando y por supuesto toda esta zona está en completo lockdown. ¿Quieres llamarle de regreso? ¿Quieres el número? Yo me cuelgo. Vamos a la costa oeste. Ahí está Raúl. Si quieres decir que no.
mean, is that where I'm next door to the building? They're doing it on 58th. Yeah. Okay. No.
Así es, Paulina, te escucho. Estamos afuera de las oficinas, en estos momentos hay fuerte presencia policiaca, el camión que ustedes están viendo ahí, que estamos viendo en estos momentos, es de parte del equipo del escuadrón antibomba. Ya habíamos visto que otro camión, también del escuadrón antibomba, se estaba en movimiento, y en este camión es donde se consumen las expresiones y también se utiliza para transportarlos. Seguramente este paquete que fue comprado hacia a las afueras de CNN en estos momentos el escuadrón antibomba que está a las afueras estarán empezando más parte del equipo para poder analizar este paquete que seguro fue enviado a un colaborador de CNN que es con seguridad de policía al gobierno del presidente Obama. Nosotros por supuesto estamos muy atentos, estamos siguiendo muy de cerca esta noticia, estamos aquí a las afueras de CNN a menos de 15 pies de la entrada, por supuesto que acabo de respetar, tenemos información de que el Departamento de Policía estará dando una conferencia de prensa. En estos momentos no sabemos si aquí, a las afueras de CNN o en One Police Plaza, que son las oficinas de la policía de Nueva York, del NYPD. Hay fuerte presencia también del Departamento de Bomberos, del National Guard, y por supuesto nosotros estamos muy al pendiente de esta información. Paulina, regreso contigo.
So I'm trying to get this to work, but it won't work if you call. So let me hang up, and I'll try it. Okay. Okay. All right. Bye. All right. Can you hear me? Hello. Okay. So the problem that I have with this, and I downloaded the app, is that it requires your active involvement to send me the link, and it requires me to paste that link when it's time into this app. Yeah, the difficulty will be when it's in an off-hour situation or someone where you guys aren't directly involved, that we can't count on it working.
The great Donna Shalala. As you may know, I wouldn't be here without her, because Donna Shalala helped Ellen Malcolm found Emily's List and has been a supporter of women running for office for years and years. She is the longest-serving Secretary of State. Excuse me, I have my secretaries mixed up, Secretary of Health and Human Services in history. And during that time, she did things like help millions of kids get covered with CHIP. As overseeing the Office of Refugee Resettlement at HHS, she kept families together. And she was instrumental in helping pass the Violence Against Women Act. In Congress, she will take that work ethic as well as those values to represent us, and we at Emily's List could not be prouder to support her. We are also incredibly grateful because you all in Florida are doing something right. You are about to be represented by 5 amazing women in this area, and I'd like to just, yeah, that's right. I'd like to just take a quick minute and recognize those women. I've obviously already talked about Donna Shalala. We're also joined today by Mary Barzi Flores, who is right. Mary was nominated by President Obama to join the federal bench. Her nomination was blocked single-handedly by Marco Rubio because, that's right. Because she supported organizations like Emily's List and the ACLU. God forbid we support electing women and constitutional rights, right? She has stepped up to run against Mario Diaz-Balart, who, after 20 years in Congress, is known primarily for being the #1 recipient of NRA funds here in Florida. And we're ready to get rid of him, so we're excited about Mary. You all also could be represented by Debbie Mukersel-Powell. That's right. Debbie has spent her life supporting this community through her work with nonprofits and at FIU, and she will again do the same, supporting this community when she goes to Washington in January. And then you're already represented by 2 amazing women, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, that's right, who, as you know, has brought to Congress an unrelenting advocacy for the less fortunate, and she's a fighter who we need more of in Washington. And also Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz, who, thank you, who at age 26 was the youngest woman at the time ever elected to the Florida legislature and continues to represent you. Again, from Emily's List, thank you, South Florida, for doing it right and electing all these women. We look forward to you electing some great men like Andrew Gillum, but we look forward in this Year of the Woman to the work that you're going to do. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage R.J. Gillum and Kristen King.
Good afternoon. I am Kristen King, and my husband, Chris King, is running to be Lieutenant Governor of this great state. And I'm standing here with my dear friend, R.J. Gillum, who is going to be the next First Lady of Florida. We are both here with just a simple message. In 13 days, we can change the course of history in Florida by making Andrew Gillum our next governor, by making Chris King our next lieutenant governor, and by sending the strong, capable, and talented Donna Shalala to Congress. RJ and I are not politicians. We are women committed to raising our families and committed to doing what is right and good in our communities. And we are married to two men who both care about this state and have ideas and passions to change the course of this state. But as you know, change doesn't happen on its own. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this state and beyond who don't want to see change happen. And they're working their hardest to keep us from making change happen. And if anything of the past couple of years has taught us, there is real danger in complacency. There's danger in not engaging. There's danger in not getting our friends and our families to vote. There's danger in staying home. You know, yesterday we had the great honor and privilege of speaking with Secretary Clinton, who has been a tireless and committed servant to this country for so many years. Many times she has not been thanked for these efforts, and she continues to fight, and we've seen in the news too that just some ugly things can happen. So we are super grateful for her love and her commitment to this area. And so I think with that challenge moving forward, we've got 13 days. And we've got to share the message to all of our friends what's at stake, because there is so much at stake for our children, for our community, and for all Florida, and quite frankly, for our nation. Everyone is watching this race, and it is so important. We have the opportunity to send a woman to Congress whose life has been spent focusing on health care and focusing on providing children with access to quality education. This woman is Donna Shalala, and she is strong, experienced, and she is exactly who we want fighting for all Floridians up in Washington. And like Dr. Shalala, my friend RJ, I have loved getting to know her. We have had a lot of fun on the trail, and we are committed to the next 13 days of really getting to spend more time together and for fighting what is right. So I'm delighted to introduce you to RJ Gillum, our next future First Lady of the state of Florida.
Good afternoon, everybody. Everyone keeps asking Kristen and I, how are we, how we're doing. It is a blessing to have Kristen and Chris on the trail with Andrew and I. 10 years ago, Andrew got down on one knee and he said, "Will you be my life partner?" And having imagined that moment my entire life, I was a little caught off guard by his word choice, but later, having gone through all we've gone through, raising children together, going through elections together, I realized how important partnership was. So when Kristen and Chris joined us, we truly feel like a partnership. And ladies, just know that even though the gentlemen are the ones on the ballot, you got the full package here with all four of us. So. As Kristen said, we've only got 13 days. How many of you all feel the urgency of these 13 days, right? But just know that we feel, the Gillums and the Kings, that no matter what happens in the news yesterday, what happened today, we are now more than ever motivated and inspired to get out to the polls and tell 10 more people and 10 more people and 10 more people. And we're not going to be embarrassed about who we support. So when people ask why Donna, we should know. You don't have to know her entire platform. Find out 1 or 2 points that you personally are passionate about, because this is the most election of our lives. I'm honored to be able to be here today to stand and help introduce, along with Kristen, a woman whose work I have admired. I have a background in health policy, and women like Donna Shalala and Secretary Clinton are the leaders we need, who are courageous enough to speak out and fight and advocate when others won't. She shares a vision with Andrew where health care truly is a human right. It's not a privilege, it's a right. It's not a luxury that's accessible for those of us who can afford it. So we appreciate the work that she's done. She hasn't just started this work. She has a lifetime of fighting and having the courage and the common sense to bring practicality into our policies. She knows that we can no longer stay on our current path, so we're grateful that she, along with all of you all, have had the courage to step out and run for office this year. We have to reverse course. We have to begin making progress again in the fight to ensure that every Floridian has access to quality and affordable health care. It's not enough for some of us to have that right. So Kristen mentioned that there's a danger in complacency, in simply accepting things the way they are instead of shaping our own futures. And I'll have to say to you that as Andrew has been through this race, I know Kristen and I have gone through the same thing. We would never by choice be standing here with you all today. It's because of a choice our husbands made that we're here. But through this journey, we've learned that we must become leaders in our own right and stretch ourselves and have the courage to say the things that need to be said and do the things that need to be done. We know that Donna, just like Andrew and like Chris, is not interested in complacency. She has the courage to speak up, speak truth, and to fight for the future that should be. As a mom raising young children, I think about their future every day. And if I didn't know Andrew, I'd say that someone like my husband is exactly who I'd want fighting for my kids every day, to have health care and attend good schools. And knowing Andrew and what he stands for has opened my mind to other people who are running for office. I look for that same courage and that same conviction, because what you've done in the past and what you've done on this trail shows us exactly the kind of leader you're going to be. Many of Andrew's values are rooted in his upbringing, and I think those same values come from our future Congresswoman. Donna understands much of what's plaguing many of the people in the state of Florida. She's the granddaughter of immigrants, and she's gone on to blaze her own trail as an accomplished public servant. Her life has been defined by the fights she has won, standing up for civil rights, women's rights, and quality, affordable health care, especially for our children, those that need us to fight for them the most. And she's done this in a time and in many spaces where women were not looked to lead and were not respected. But being someone that's only 5'2", I can tell you that sometimes those of us who are vertically challenged know how to get things done, right? Though small in stature, she is quite a leader, and her light shines brightly. She understands that complacency just won't do. So she has spoken up, and she will continue to. She has led, and she will continue to lead. And because of her leadership, countless young people and families have benefited. So let's be clear. Andrew, Chris, and Donna are all on the ballot in 13 days. But we must also know that so is a choice between complacency and building the future that we all want to see. And because you are here, I know that you already know that. So we all have a job to do. In addition to continuing to support Donna and everyone else in this room that's running for office, we have more work to do. We have more people to call. We have more texts to send. We have more information to share on social media to combat the lies and the divisiveness. It is time for us to bring back human decency to Florida and to this nation, because what we do in 13 days, once we elect Andrew Gillum, the next governor, and once we send Donna Shalala to Congress, will show the rest of the country what can be done in 2020. And so now it is my pleasure to introduce to you the next voice you will hear is our next Congresswoman, Donna Shalala. Thank you.
just heard from two remarkable women who are going to bring it home. Kristen and RJ, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, and thank you all for coming. Let me begin by telling you a story. I've been campaigning all over this district, and I'm usually even campaigning in restaurants. I can't sit down without working the crowd. It's become second nature for me. So I approached a family of 4. The little boy turned out to be 9 years old, the little girl 6, and the parents reassured me that they were going to vote for me, but they were trying to explain to their son what I was running for. And he said, "Are you running for president?" And I said, "No, I've already been a president. I'm running for Congress." And he said, "What's Congress?" That, Hillary, took a little time to explain. And then I said to him, "So what do you want to be when you grow up?" And he said, "I want to be a police officer." And I said, "That's a wonderful profession. Why do you want to be a police officer?" And he said, "Because I want to keep the kids in my school safe." That's why I'm running. I'm running for that little boy and all the little boys and girls in this community and communities across the country that ought to feel safe when they go to school. You know, during the Clinton administration, we negotiated an assault weapons ban. Many people forget that. We had it for 10 years. We also negotiated the Brady bill. It can be done. And those of us that are going to Congress this year, in the majority, are going to get it done. In this district, it's not just the assault weapons ban. It's also our life or death issue, climate change. My opponent actually is campaigning today with Kevin McCarthy, who is one of those climate deniers. There are no climate deniers that live in South Florida. For us, sea level rise is a life or death issue. And Congress needs to focus on the future of the Everglades, on climate change, but most importantly, on the sea level rise issue. And then there's immigration. Today, thousands of people are marching towards our border. It is a humanitarian crisis, but inside our borders are millions of people that deserve the right to find a pathway to citizenship. They're not just the DACA kids. They're not just the DACA kids. They're people who have been here for many years, many of them under temporary protective status. We need to find a pathway to citizenship for millions of people that live within our borders, that get up every day and do the right thing and take care of their families. And that's what Democrats are going to do. And finally, Hillary, my favorite issue, health care. These Republican leaders have already announced that they intend to pay for their tax cut for the rich by cutting Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and by taking a vote again to repeal the Affordable Care Act. 96,000 people in the 27th District have their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. Millions of people across our country are dependent on the rule that protects their health care called pre-existing conditions. None of us can predict what we may have in the future, but without the protection within our insurance plans for pre-existing conditions, we don't have insurance at all. We must stop the Republicans from repealing the Affordable Care Act, from taking away Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, from seniors, from poor people. My opponent actually said she wants the free market to work for health care. And I said to her, the free market doesn't work for health care. If you're poor, if you're disabled, if you're a veteran, it doesn't work for seniors. That's why we got those programs in the first place. This is not a midterm election. It's an election. It's Judgment Day. It's the day in which we take back our community, we take back our state, and we begin what I think is a very short journey to take back our country. Thank you very much. Thank you. You know, it's very easy to introduce Wonder Woman. We've known each other for a very long time. We actually met before she married Bill Clinton. We worked together at the Children's Defense Fund. She's the greatest champion of children that we've ever had in this country. A leader of leaders, the most extraordinary woman of our times. She will always be a winner, and I'll always be with her. My friend Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Thank you all very, very much. You know, before I begin, I want to say a few words about the news this morning of suspicious packages being sent to various public figures and a news organization. Many of you and others across our country have asked after me and my family, and I'm very grateful for that. We are fine, thanks to the men and women of the Secret Service who intercepted the package addressed to us long before it made its way to our home. Every day we are grateful for their service and commitment, and obviously never more than today. But it is a troubling time, isn't it? And it's a time of deep divisions, and we have to do everything we can to bring our country together. We also have to elect candidates who will try to do the same, who will set goals that will lift up every single Floridian and American, who will look into the future to understand what are the challenges we have to meet today so that our children and our grandchildren have the quality of life and the opportunities that we hope for them. Usually when people ask me how am I doing, which happens quite often, I say, well, as a person, I'm great. As an American, I'm worried. And it's actually for the same reasons. Partly why I am so great is because, with no offense to anyone, I have the most fabulous grandchildren in the entire world. But because I do now have these little precious people, I worry about the direction of our country. I worry about what kind of world will be waiting for them when they're teenagers and young adults and beyond. So it's a special pleasure for me to be here to support the candidates that you have running in Florida. I had the great opportunity yesterday to spend time with Andrew Gillum and RJ and with Chris and Kristen King. And I can tell you, you will be in very good hands when Andrew Gillum is elected governor. I also said that have the rare experience of being both a candidate and a spouse. And being a spouse is a lot harder. So I'm excited that RJ and Kristen, who you just saw, will be there in Tallahassee doing everything they can to improve the lives of the people of this state, and particularly the children. I'm also delighted to be here with former Representative Ron Klein. Thank you so much, Ron. And I want Mary Barzee Flores to wave her hand or stand up. And Mary, thank you so much for running in the 25th district. Now, it's always fun for me to be in Florida. I first came to Florida when I was 10 years old, driving down here with my parents. I will never forget stopping at a little cafe in North Florida, sitting at a counter to have some lunch, and a man walked in with a small alligator on a leash. You know how some memories just get embedded in your head, and no matter what else happens to you, they stay there? That's one of them. I also remember coming here as a teenager with some of my friends. Now, if you don't tell anybody, I will confess that I actually was stopped for unlawful water skiing. But what happens in Fort Lauderdale stays in Fort Lauderdale. But all those memories and what I've seen in the many, many times that I have come to Florida is a state with enormous potential to really not only prepare for your future, but to set the stage for what America will do to prepare for our future. You know, it's quite astonishing that Florida, the Sunshine State, hasn't been leading not just the United States, but the world in clean renewable energy, isn't it? I mean, it's always shocking to me when I see statistics that claim that states like New Jersey actually have more renewable energy than Florida. Go figure. But that's a lack of leadership, an unwillingness to prepare for the future that awaits. I'm also thrilled that Florida continues to grow, third most populous state in our country. But with growth comes responsibility, and how to educate those children, how to provide for preschool, how to make sure our seniors have what they need to enjoy the retirement that they came to be part of here in Florida. So there are real world daily issues that we have to confront, and that Florida needs new leadership to enable it to make the right decisions going forward. So I'm here to talk about someone who understands this completely. You know, Donna has been my dear friend for many, many years. And in everything she has ever done, from being a cabinet secretary who served for 8 years, to a university president, she has lived and worked her heart out to improve the lives of the people she was responsible for helping. Now, that's a simple concept, but hard work coupled with vision and determination is how you get things done. And there is no better person to have in your corner than Donna Shalala. Now, that's why at this moment, 13 days from such a consequential election, it is imperative that people in this district and across Florida vote for leaders who will put them first. Not their party, not their partisanship, not their commercial interests, not any of the other matters that seem to fuel too many people who run for and hold office today. There's a crisis facing our country, and I don't use that word lightly. There's a crisis in our democracy, a crisis in our ability to make the tough decisions, to govern ourselves. And now we've got a chance to try to begin to reverse that. It's obviously very disturbing to me that when you look at what has been done in Washington over the last now, nearly 2 years, it hasn't really been aimed at helping the people of this district or the people of Florida, except for the very, very few. Time after time, we have seen decisions made that exacerbate problems, not in any way move towards solving them. And we hear a lot about immigration. Well, last time I looked, the other party controlled the White House and the Congress. If they wanted to fix immigration instead of using it as a whipping post, they could have. They could have made changes that would have already been improving the situation for immigrants and putting us on a better path. If they wanted to really be fair in a tax system, they wouldn't have benefited corporations and the wealthy to the extent that they did. And now we hear, in fact, they let the secret out, my friends. Mitch McConnell, the other day, basically said, well, we got some budget problems. Well, yes, I guess so. Self-inflicted budget problems, nevertheless, budget problems. And so we're going to have to look at Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid. You cannot be more cynical than that. But that's what they said, and I will guarantee you that if they are returned to majority in the Congress, that is what they will do. So the list goes on. But there's good news, too. And let me stress that, because I am fundamentally optimistic. I'm optimistic about our country and our future as long as we make the right decisions. And I'm particularly optimistic about young people. One of the most moving sights that I have ever seen is watching the Parkland students try to bring us to our senses about common sense gun safety measures. And there are many other young people, individually and together, who are fighting for the changes they want to see because they understand those changes will affect their lives. Every election is about the future. And fundamentally, every election has consequences. And those consequences are much more impactful on young people than those of us who are no longer young. People who have more tomorrows, by definition, have more at stake in the leaders that we elect and the agendas that they pursue. So this election is as critical as any that I can remember. And think about what Donna has done, her proven track record of leadership, and what she will do. And I will tell you this. If you want someone to clean up the mess in Washington, send Donna Shalala. She knows more about health care than anybody in the Congress ever has or ever will. Nobody's going to get past her about doing away with protections for pre-existing conditions. Nobody's going to convince her to cut a little here and cut a little there on Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid in order to go after entitlements to fix the budget. No, there's an easier way. Reverse the absolutely wrong-headed tax bill that gave the rewards to the top 1%. No one will convince her that public schools and higher education don't need to be funded, because she knows what a difference a good teacher in the classroom can make for a child from any zip code. And no one will convince her that we don't need early childhood education and preschool programs to help every single child, no matter where that child is from, to have the best shot at learning. And no one will convince her that we need to continue to see the carnage that we experience because of the gun laws that the NRA has intimidated people into supporting in the last years. And if you believe in comprehensive immigration reform and protecting dreamers and keeping families together, she's your person. She has the best ability to take a problem, break it down, and figure out how to solve it than probably anybody I've ever worked with. So when she's in Washington, you'll see a lot of her because she's going to have to be standing up and speaking out against the assault on facts, evidence, truth, and reason. That is a daily staple of what's happening in our Capitol. But she can't do that without your help. Just like Andrew Gillum can give great speeches and do a fantastic job in his debate, if any of you saw it, right? But it won't matter if people don't turn out and vote. And if you don't do everything you can in the next 13 days to convince people who are not yet sure it's worth the couple of hours it might take to vote. Apparently there are some long lines in Miami-Dade because so many people want to vote. But don't let that discourage you. You know, take a cooler, bring a lawn chair. That investment of time will pay off over and over again when you have leaders who are going to pay attention to you, not do the bidding of their rich corporate donors, their ideological partisan advisors. We've got to get back to common sense American problem-solving ability. We've got to start talking and listening. You know, I don't think any one person has all the answers. That's obviously not at all the case. But people working together and listening to each other can come up with good answers. So we need to really bear down these next 13 days. Thank you for being here and generously supporting Donna's campaign. It means the world because she's got to get her message out there. She's got to be competitive online and on broadcast and in papers and everywhere else people are seeking information. But whatever you've done, if you can do a little more, that would be very helpful. If you've knocked on some doors, if you can do some more, that will be helpful. If you've made some calls, but you can do some more, I hope you will. We can't take anybody's vote for granted. Take it from me. I know a little bit about this. So I am hoping that we have a very pleasant morning on November 7th, right? You know, in 1992, a long time ago, when we were campaigning with the Gores all over the country, it was one of the best stories that was used to end the speaking, and it was usually delivered by Al Gore. And Al Gore would say, imagine it's election day, and you got tired of waiting for the results, and you had to get up early, so you went to bed. But you were confident about how it was going to turn out. And you woke up the next morning, and you put on the coffee, and you started to just stretch and move into the day, and then you turned on the news, and you heard that your candidate lost. In addition to the depression that sets in, people start saying, well, maybe I could have done a little more. Maybe I could have stretched a little further. Well, I'm here to tell you, yes. I'm confident that each and every one of you can, and I hope that you will. I, for one, want to be able to look my grandchildren in the eyes and say that when it counted, I tried my very hardest to do everything I could to persuade people to vote for leaders like Andrew Gillum and Chris King and Donna Shalala that would actually care about them and their futures and would try to bring people together, not divide us. I still believe that's what we are going to get, but we won't get it by wishing and hoping for it. We will get it by hard work. So we have to get everyone out to vote and tell everyone whatever issue they care about, it is on the ballot. It may be Donna Shalala's name, but if you care about guns or climate change or Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, pre-existing conditions, education, whatever you care about, it's all at stake. So 13 days, let's make sure Donna Shalala goes to Congress.
done here, so we got to pack up and head out. We don't want there's still this mingling going on, but really we're done as far as you guys are concerned.
Oh, hey, great. Are we good? We good?
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Here's a little bit more, that's all I can provide you. 1, 2, 3, mic check. Hello, hello. Winning when she's not me, mic check. I assume they're going to be standing?
Yes.
Okay. All right, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mic check. We good?
Hey, what's up? Yeah. Yeah. How about audio? Check audio. Make sure the audio's good. Check 1, 2. Check. Audio check 1, 2. 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check. Just a quick mic check. Make sure you got me. Mic check 1, 2. That's how it goes. Mic check. All right, thank you. All right, man. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
everyone ready? Welcome to Simpsonville, South Carolina, site of a $1.5 billion Mega Millions jackpot win. We have here with us Tony Cooper, that's spelled T-O-N-Y-C-O-O-P-E-R. He is the Chief Operating Officer with the South Carolina Education Lottery. Joining him will be C.J. Patel, that's C-J-P-A-T-E-L, owner of KC Mart here in Simpsonville, South Carolina. And Tony has some opening statements.
Welcome to Simpsonville, South Carolina. It is a big, beautiful day and a very lucky day for one ticket holder. We don't know at this point whether it's one person or a group of persons or anything about the identity of the player, but we do know where the winning ticket was sold. And the winning ticket was sold here at Kmart number 7 and KC Mart number 7, and the owner is C.J. Patel, and I'm going to turn it over to C.J. Patel, see if he has a few remarks, and then he'll return it back to me.
Well, we are so glad, you know, locally over here. Oh, sorry. We are so glad to be here, you know, it's good attention and good for the community, you know, whoever is the winner is, hopefully he spends that money locally and, you know, do some good stuff for the community. Thank you.
Okay, stay here. Do you have any questions?
What does his store get? Does his store get like $50,000, something like that, for selling the ticket?
Yes, his store will receive $50,000 for selling the winning ticket when the winning ticket is presented.
Do we know what time the ticket was sold at the store? Any information about the ticket, what time it was sold at?
Yes, we know what time and the date and of when it was purchased, but for security reasons, we do not release that information until after the winning ticket is claimed and validated.
How much time does the winning ticket have to validate?
They have 180 days from the date of the purchase of the ticket. And we do two things in South Carolina, and I think we do two things well. We tell people how to play responsibly, but we also wanted to communicate to people how to win responsibly. So if the winner is out there today listening to us, we would like to say to you, take a deep breath, put that ticket in a secure location, consult with a trusted advisor, a legal advisor, a trusted financial advisor. Sign the back of that ticket because it's a barrier instrument. Whoever bears that instrument can cash that instrument. So sign the back of that instrument. Take a few days. Take that deep breath again. Call the lottery. We will tell you who to go to, how to do it, and take time. You have up to 180 days to cash the tickets. But again, we encourage you to play responsibly, but we also encourage you to win responsibly.
Mr. Cooper, I know you can't tell us when or where or what time the ticket was bought, but can you tell us, was it a quick fix or was it the numbers filled out, the form filled out?
We will not give out any information concerning the ticket until after the ticket has been claimed.
Can we ask Mr. Patel what it's like to get the 50 grand for you, for your store?
Feels good. 50,000 is a lot of money for me, you know. Even if it's a dollar extra is good, so 50,000 is 50,000 times good. Yes.
What do you plan to do with the money?
I have think, you know, a lot about it, but I'll do some good with that money. Yeah.
How long have you owned the store? Tell us about how long you've been here.
It's about three and a half years.
How did you find out that the ticket was sold?
I got a call from lottery people, you know, Columbia. Yeah.
Mine must have been blown.
Oh yeah.
What time did you get that call?
Man, yeah.
What time did you get it?
Oh, it's around 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Cooper, with it being such a historic number, I think it's better that the winner remains anonymous. Like, how do you envision? How would you like to see it play out? I should ask.
Well, in South Carolina, we're one of the few states that allow the winners to remain anonymous. It's their choice. They can release their names, or they can stay anonymous. It's their choice. The only advice we give to our winners is to play responsibly, win responsibly. Think about what you would do as far as getting a financial advisor, a legal advisor, and sign the back of your check, and just make your own determination.
Will the state benefit from this?
The state will receive approximately $60 million in taxes off of this as far as withholding. We have also received between $10 and $15 million as a result of sales of Mega Million tickets during this particular run. And that figure will even increase because tonight we also have a near record Powerball run, which we hope will also be hit in South Carolina and maybe at his store again.
You never know, strike twice.
You never know. Could strike twice.
Lucky now?
I am, yeah, I'm lucky, always lucky. Story is always lucky for me. Yeah.
What percentage of the winnings goes to education?
Well, the lady in the back, say that again.
What percentage of winnings, how much goes to education?
Approximately 43 cents out of every dollar wager on Mega Million tickets goes to education.
What does this mean for South Carolina to have this winning ticket here?
It is a big, big win for South Carolina, for its players, for its retailers, and more importantly, for education, because this is the South Carolina Education Lottery.
We get the sense the whole world is watching. Have you heard from outlets around the world?
Our phone has been going off non-stop since it was posted on our website that we had one jackpot winner since 11 o'clock. It has been a beehive of activity. And to probably explain it, I'd have to make up some words. I'm going to call it pandemonious jollification.
Mr. Cooper, you've been around the lottery system basically the beginning, right? I mean,
Yes.
Did you ever think that you'd be giving out more than $1 billion to some one person in South Carolina when all this started back in 2000?
I'm trying to do a Michael Myers impersonation, but no.
Mr. Patel, prior to this, what was the largest winning lottery ticket you had sold?
We had like a year and a half ago about $250,000.
$250, you said?
Yes, sir.
Do stores always receive the same sum, about $50,000 in a win like this, or how does that work?
The stores receive 1% of the value of a winning ticket for any prize over $10,000 with a cap of $50,000 on the 1%.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That is very fortunate. States vary in what they call the retailer commission. But you have to understand that approximately 99.999% of our tickets do not reach that cap for winning tickets paid to the retailers. And in addition, you know, we're here at the retailer location not only to celebrate CJ Patel and his efforts, but the efforts of the 4,000 retailers statewide who sell these tickets, and in addition to the hundreds of thousands of retailers nationally who sell these tickets. This $1.5 billion jackpot is the result of a nationwide phenomenon of people participating in this Powerball run. And we want to thank not only the players in South Carolina, but the players throughout the United States for participating in this wonderful jackpot.
Mr. Patel, how does it feel to know one of the people you sold a ticket to won more than $1 billion?
Sorry, couldn't
How
get
does it feel to know one of the people that you handed a ticket to is now a billionaire?
Yeah, you know, it's good for the customer, especially it's my customer. He'll keep coming, you know, and just good for the business. I feel like, you know, I'm the unfortunate one, you know, just cap at $50,000, but that's fortunate good luck, I guess.
Can you describe what the ticket sales were like, sir, but prior to this drawing?
It was busy, you know, yesterday all day long people were buying, you know, tickets. Day before yesterday also we had some good sales.
And it could be somebody that's not a local resident.
We don't know, yeah. Just anybody can buy as long as they are over 18, you know, so.
So Mr. Cooper, if you look at what's gone on in our country with weather and this and that, maybe people from South Carolina have been adversely affected by storms, etc. You can sit down with the winter, maybe try to talk that person into maybe helping those that are in dire need right now for supplies and for recovery.
Well, interesting factoid is that our governor has estimated that the harm from the latest hurricane that came through South Carolina caused about $1.3 billion in damages. Well, we're looking at a $1.5 billion lottery jackpot. What that person decides to do with his or her or their winnings is their decision. The lottery or anybody associated with the lottery will not in any way, shape, or form tell that person how to spend his, her, or their money.
Do you have an idea of if this was one person, since you do have the surveillance video and you know when the ticket was purchased? Is this a one-person thing or maybe an office pool?
We will let you know that information once the ticket is claimed and validated. And some of that is a matter of security. So some information we will keep to ourselves, and obviously if the person wants to remain anonymous, then that information will not be available for.
How quickly did you know that after the Powerball drawing, how quickly did you know that you had a winner, and how quickly did you also know that you had a winner?
We knew a half an hour after the draw that there was a winner in South Carolina. We knew approximately 3.5 hours after the draw that we were the only winner of the Powerball jackpot.
What went through your head?
I mean, excuse me, Mega Millions. Sorry.
What went through your head when you realized, you know, we get the other one? Your record jackpot, you get one win. They want to public record. What went through your head?
We're one of the luckiest states in the union.
Can you walk us through how the individual can receive the funds? I think there's like a lump sum, or how does that work?
Okay, the individual or individuals who will claim the ticket have an option of taking the cash option of $877 million, which is a set amount at the time of their claiming the ticket. That ticket will probably, those funds probably will not be available until sometime in the early part of November. So it'll be a couple of weeks if he came in today. But once he came, let's say after the early part of November, it takes maybe about a couple of days to transfer that money from where it is currently deposited into that person's account. If that person decides to take the annuity, which is $1.5 billion, billion, not million, $1.5 billion, that payment is made over a 29-year period. It's an escalating payment that starts around about 12 to 18 million, will escalate up to $50 million or more, depending upon markets at the end of his annuity.
What will happen with that money if for some odd reason this person just does not claim it within the 180 days?
Retailer will get it.
If the person does not claim it within 180 days in South Carolina, different states have different claiming periods. In some states allow you to claim up to a year, in South Carolina it's 180 days. If that person does not claim that ticket in 180 days, then that money goes back to the states and is divided among the states in proportion to their sales.
How soon will you tell us when the person comes forward with a tickets for claims, is there a waiting period to tell us? Or is it same day?
No. As soon as that person files his claim, you'll know the day of. Beg your pardon?
How many states participate in Mega Millions?
There are approximately 46 states, approximately 46 states and territories, including the District of Columbia and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, that sell Mega Million tickets.
Is the only option for the winner to claim the prize to go to Columbia to the lottery office, or how does that work? Is that the only option?
Yes, you have to present that ticket at the lottery in person. And again, you have to sign the back of the ticket, and whoever signs the back of the ticket is the person or entity that can claim that ticket. Okay, we thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Welcome to South Carolina, and C.J. Patel would be more than happy to sell you Powerball tickets for tonight's draw.
I'm ready. We are ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our program will begin shortly. We ask that you please take a moment to silence all electronic devices. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the senior leadership of the Department of Justice.
Please be seated. Good afternoon. Welcome to the 66th Annual Attorney General's Awards Ceremony. I am the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. The Attorney General will be with us shortly. It's a great privilege for me to serve as the MC for this important event. Today we gather to express our gratitude to an exceptional group of Department of Justice employees and to honor people from outside the department who have put service before self in support of our mission. We're honored to be joined by many family members, friends, and colleagues of the award recipients. The remarkable achievements that we celebrate today required a lot of talent, and they also took a lot of time and effort. A large share of the credit is due to those who supported the recipients throughout their lives in developing the talent, and recently, as they devoted the time and effort required to achieve these great successes, and we are grateful for your support. At this time, I ask you to please rise and join us in the presentation of the colors by the Joint Armed Forces Color Guard of the Military District of Washington and the National Anthem, which will be performed by the United States Army Brass Quintet. Please be seated. And please join me in expressing our appreciation to the Joint Armed Forces Color Guard and the United States Army Brass Quintet. I'm accompanied on this grand stage by some of the department's senior leaders. Other senior department officials join us in the audience. The leaders on stage will assist in presenting awards to employees in their components. I want to invite each official on stage to stand when introduced. For the audience, please hold your applause until all introductions are made. With us today are Brian Benchkowski, Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division, Stephen Boyd, Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legislative Affairs, Macon Del Rahim, Assistant Attorney General for the Antitrust Division, John Demers, Assistant Attorney General for the National Security Division, Stephen Engel, Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legal Counsel, Noel Francisco, our Solicitor General, Michael Harwitz, Inspector General, Jody Hunt, Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Division, Phil Keith, Director of our Community-Oriented Policing Services, Lee Loftus, Assistant Attorney General for Administration. Lee also will assist in serving as the narrator for today's ceremony. We also have Clifford White, Director of the U.S. Trustees Program, Paul Abate, Associate Deputy Director of the FBI, standing in for Director Wray, who also will join us later this afternoon. David Anderson is here, the Acting Deputy Director of the U.S. Marshals Service. Tom Brandon, the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. And representing the Drug Enforcement Administration is Greg Churandolo. The Acting Administrator, Udom Dillon, also will join us later in the program. John Gore, our Acting Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, is here. Hugh Hurwitz, our Acting Director of the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Jeff Wood, Acting Assistant Attorney General for the Environment and Natural Resources Division. And Richard Zuckerman, Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the Tax Division. Please give these exceptional leaders and all of our components a round of applause. Thank you very much. We also have with us today Charles Rettig, our new Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service. Congratulations, Charles. And we're joined by several United States attorneys whose employees are being honored. It's my pleasure to welcome our U.S. attorneys to Washington, D.C. Once again, I ask you to hold your applause until they have all been introduced. With us today from the District of Montana, Kurt Alme. From the Southern District of New York, Jeff Berman. Richard Donahue for the Eastern District of New York. Timothy Garrison from the Western District of Missouri. Benjamin Glassman from the Southern District of Ohio. Nick Hanna from the Central District of California. Annette Hayes from the Western District of Washington. Justin Herdman from the Northern District of Ohio. Robert Herr from the District of Maryland. Jesse Liu from the District of Columbia. Maria Chapa Lopez from the Middle District of Florida. McGregor Scott from the Eastern District of California. And Zachary Terwilliger from the Eastern District of Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our United States attorneys. Well, thank you very much. A few months ago on Law Day, President Trump explained that in the United States, we govern ourselves in accordance with the rule of law, rather than according to the whims of an elite few or the dictates of collective will. Through law, we have ensured liberty, and we should not take that success for granted. The President's words are of central importance to the Department of Justice because the rule of law in America depends on the character of the people who enforce the law. All executive branch employees take the same oath. The first clause requires us to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Everyone is familiar with that duty, but some overlook the final clause of the oath, a promise to well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. The first obligation is general. It imposes a duty to pursue the national interest over any personal interest. And that applies equally to every government employee. But the final clause is specific. Everyone recites the same words, but the meaning varies. In order to well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office, you need to understand your unique responsibilities. What is the mandate of your agency? What is the mission of your component? And how do you add value? You need to know what you stand for. In 1940, Attorney General Robert Jackson spoke eloquently about what our department stands for. He said that the citizen's safety lies in the prosecutor who tempers zeal with human kindness, who seeks the truth and not victims, who serves the law and not factional purposes, and who approaches the task with humility. If you follow that advice, you will remain faithful to our mission. It was the mission that attracted me to work in the Department of Justice, but what I treasure most are the people who carry out that mission. I'm grateful for your service, and I'm honored to work with you in the cause of justice. So at this time, please join me in welcoming Assistant Attorney General Lee Loftus to begin the award presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Attorney General. Component heads and U.S. attorneys on the stage. When your employees' names are announced, please rise and join us center stage for photographs. During the award ceremony, a brief description of the recipients' accomplishments will be announced. You are invited to read more about the award recipients in today's program. Also, please hold your applause until all of the recipients of the group awards are announced. Our first category of award is the Distinguished Service Award. The Attorney General's Distinguished Service Award is the second highest recognition bestowed by the Department of Justice, and I am pleased to announce that this year the award is presented to 144 individuals. Our first recipients of the Distinguished Service Award played a key role in blocking health insurer Anthem's proposed $54 billion acquisition of Cigna. The recipients are, from the Antitrust Division, Scott Westrick, Scott Fitzgerald, Jesus Alvarado Rivera, Shobitha Bhatt, Jennifer Hane, Peter Swingler, Lauren Riker, Aaron Kamenetz, Adam Seifert, Gloria Hsu, Ronald Drennan, Ari Gerstel, and Alexander Raskovich. Receiving the award but not present are Bryson Bachman and Lorna Mosher. Ladies and gentlemen, the team. Our next recipient displayed extraordinary leadership skills as warden of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Guaynabo, Puerto Rico during Hurricanes Irma and Maria in September 2017. Today we honor from the Federal Bureau of Prisons, Angel Adan. Our next team is honored for its coordinated takedown of Alpha Bay, the world's largest dark web marketplace, and the simultaneous arrest of its founder. The recipients are, from the Criminal Division, Louisa Marion, Alden Pelker, Divya Ramji. From the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of California, Paul Hemaseth, Kevin Kasigian, and Grant Rabin. From the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Nathan Coughlin, Heriberto Gadina, Michael Cahoon, Matthew Gurn, Darren Smith, Aaron Montgomery, and Alexandra Comoli. From the Drug Enforcement Administration, Jennifer Sanchez and John Rabot. From the Internal Revenue Service, Kalbir Mand. Receiving the award but not present today are Jay Dial, Nicholas Philippides, Kimberly Robinson, and Ernst Wyan. Ladies and gentlemen, the team. Our next recipient is being recognized for her sustained professionalism, judgment, and integrity. Throughout a nearly 35 career in the Environment and Natural Resources Division, she has inspired and educated countless attorneys and professional staff within the department and the federal government. Today, we are honoring Jean Williams. Our next team is recognized for its historic achievement in bringing to justice a Libyan militia leader who directed the September 11, 2012 terrorist attack on the United States Special Mission in Benghazi. The recipients are, from the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia, John Crabb, Michael DiLorenzo, Julianne Himmelstein, Kenneth Cole, David Mudd, Ophir Shawaiki, Rainisha Booth, and Yvonne Bryant. From the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Stephanie Roddy, Michael Clark, Victor Kamaya, James Dwyer, Musa El-Sher, Justin O'Donnell, and Jamie Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen, the team. Our next team is honored for its groundbreaking work to combat an entrenched culture of corruption at the highest levels of the international soccer sport. Today we honor from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, Keith Edelman, Caitlin Farrell, Kristen Mace, Brian Morris, Samuel Nitza, Paul Tuckman, and Shireen Watson. From the Federal Bureau of Investigation, John Penza, Matthew Callahan, Paul Yaris, and Jared Randall. From the Internal Revenue Service, Stephen Bellis, Stephen Berryman, Anton Chu, Joseph Kasich, and Rodolfo Mendoza. Ladies and gentlemen, the team. Our next team is recognized for its successful prosecution of a former government contractor who committed cyber espionage, theft of classified materials, and sex trafficking and sexual assault of minors. Today we honor from the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida, Ricardo Del Toro, Barbara Martinez, Angel Martinez, Eric Tisthammer. From the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Carlos Tamala, Bradley Howell, Alexis Carpentieri, Latarsha Russo, Melissa Starman, and Gaston Nieves. And from the National Security Division, Christian Ford. Receiving the award but not present are Lillian Cruz, Vanessa Johannes, and Susan Ramash. Ladies and gentlemen, the honorees. Our next award is presented to a group who successfully prosecuted a Kosovo national for providing material support to ISIL and accessing a protected computer to obtain data to assist a terrorist organization. The recipients are, from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Amar Bagute, Christopher Coleman, Nancy Wood, John Wood, Daniel Moxley, Dustin Reed, Timothy McCrohan, Kevin Gallagher, Tracy Minnick, Caitlin Caston, Zarinka Dilber, and David Smith. From our National Security Division, Brandon Van Grack and Gregory Gonzalez. Receiving the award but not present is Charles O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, the team. This next team is recognized for its outstanding performance conducting a highly complex investigation of 8 senior officers of the Baltimore Police Department. The recipients are from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Greg Domro, Matthew Walsh, Kevin Bodmer, Heather Groh, Juan Carlos Guerra, Erica Jensen, Laura Schreiber, and Amanda Sackett. From the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Maryland, Derek Hines and Leo Wise. From the Harford County Sheriff's Office, David McDougall. From the Baltimore Police Department, John Saraki, Matthew Smith, and Jared Stern. And from the Baltimore County Police Department, Scott Kilpatrick. Ladies and gentlemen, the honorees. Our next Distinguished Service Award is presented to a group for its work in drafting and securing approval of legislation that ultimately passed as the Clarifying Lawful Overseas Use of Data, or CLOUD Act, an act that established new authorities for law enforcement requests for data in other countries. The recipients are from the Office of the Attorney General, Rachel Tucker. From the Office of the Deputy Attorney General, Dashina Gahar and Sujit Raman. From the Criminal Division, Bruce Swartz, Richard Downing, Michael Stawaz, Aaron Cooper, Anitha Ibrahim, Kenneth Harris, and Thomas DeTore. From the National Security Division, Brad Wegman, Melissa McTuff, and Tracy Varghese. And from the Office of Legislative Affairs, David Lassiter. Also receiving the award but not present is Michael Buchwald. Ladies and gentlemen, our team. Our next recipients led an 18-month review of the Federal Bureau of Prisons' treatment and use of restricted housing for inmates with mental illness, making key recommendations for improving their health care. The recipients are, from the Office of the Inspector General, James Tyrell, James Ludwig, and Alexandra Montero. The next team receives its award for its outstanding work reviewing executive orders, presidential directives, and attorney general orders for form and legality. From the Office of Legal Counsel, we recognize Rosemary Hart, Matthew Guarnieri, Laura Hine, and Leif Overvold. Receiving the award but not present are Kelly Brooke Hochstetler and Erica Newland. Ladies and gentlemen, our OLC team. The recipient of our next award has distinguished himself through his contributions representing the United States in the Supreme Court and in the coordination of government appeals in the lower courts. From the Office of the Solicitor General, we honor Brian Fletcher. Unfortunately, Mr. Fletcher is unable to join us this afternoon. Receiving the award on his behalf is our Solicitor General, Noel Francisco. And our final Distinguished Service Award is presented to a team for its role in preventing debtors from using the federal bankruptcy system to reorganize marijuana businesses and sell marijuana assets in violation of the Controlled Substances Act. Today we recognize from the United States Trustee Program, Lisa Tracy, Nan Itel, Matthew Sutko, Michael Bujold, Wendy Cox, John Sheehan, Gregory Garvin, and James Perkins. Ladies and gentlemen, the team. We move to our next category of award now, the Excellence in Law Enforcement Award, which recognizes outstanding professional achievement by law enforcement officers. This year, we are presenting one award. The recipient of this award gathered and developed intelligence that led to the complete dismantlement of a drug trafficking organization, the closure of several front corporations and 2 corrupt pharmacies, and multiple convictions resulting in the defendants receiving sentences ranging from 30 to 180 months of imprisonment. Today we recognize from the Drug Enforcement Administration, Yasmani Cepero. The Attorney General's Award for Exceptional Service in Indian Country recognizes extraordinary work by department employees to fight crime in Indian Country. This year, we are presenting one award. This team is honored for its exceptional work on a child abduction and rescue that occurred on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation in Wolf Point, Montana. The recipients are from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, David Burns, Harry Murphy, Craig Overby, Michelle Stewart, Kelly Burns, and Julia Meredith. From the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Montana, Ryan Weldon. From the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Matthew Kruger. From the U.S. Department of the Interior, Chad Greenwood. From the Fort Peck Tribes Department of Law and Justice, Lewis Matthews, Sean Redboy, and Angela Matthews. And from the Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office, Corey Room and Patrick O'Connor. Receiving the award but not present is Kenneth Trottier. Ladies and gentlemen, our team. The Attorney General's Award for Excellence in Management recognizes outstanding administrative and managerial achievements which have significantly improved operations, increased productivity, or reduced cost. This year's recipient of the Excellent in Management Award efficiently manages the administrative operations in an extra-large U.S. Attorney's Office on the southwest border. From the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of California, receiving the award but not present is Mary Tracy. The Attorney General's Award for Excellence in Information Technology recognizes outstanding achievements in applying information technology to improve operations and productivity, reduce or avoid costs, and solve problems. Today's Excellence in IT Award is presented to an individual who has been instrumental in implementing several advanced technologies that the Bureau of Prisons uses to protect its institutions and the community on a daily basis. Today we recognize from BOP, Todd Craig. Our next award is the Attorney General's Award for Excellence in the Protection of U.S. National Security. The team that investigated and prosecuted the United States versus Yahya Farouk Muhammad receives the award for its distinguished work to secure a conviction, long prison sentence, and deportation for a man who raised thousands of dollars to support al-Qaeda